Hello, everybody. Welcome to Brunch with Bigfoot Michigan Rob. I'm your host, BMR. We got a great show in line for you today. My buddy Barry Littleton joins us. We're talking Bigfoot. Not only are we talking Bigfoot, Barry's going to break down my encounter. That's right. Here today, only here on Brunch with Bigfoot Michigan Rob. Typically, this is where I say, join in Studio B, the lovely Brandy. Well, Brandy and Krista are out on their way to the Bigfoot conference in Texas. Yes, they're off to a conference in Texas. So I'm flying with Barry. Going to be a fantastic show. If this is your first time here, please subscribe to Bigfoot Michigan Rob on YouTube. Please subscribe to the Blondes and the Booze Paranormal Podcast on YouTube. And of course, Texas Front Porch on YouTube. Thank you so much for that. And since I did mention the Blondes and Booze will be away this weekend, Thursday night, the Blondes and Booze are on at 9. Jason McLean will be filling in. And Friday night, yours truly, BMR, will be filling in for the Blondes and Booze with Paranormal Paul. And we've got a cool guest talking about a Bigfoot encounter. So they'll be on. You'll get a couple of different co-hosts and coasts this weekend. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on iHeartRadio, Spreaker, KPNL Radio, wherever podcasts are found. If you like and want to help support what we do around here, the Super Chat is always available for you. Thank you in advance for that. And you can find all of our content, our schedules on our About pages or our main page on YouTube. And speaking of what we've got going on, Mondays is, of course, Texas Front Porch. 8 Central. Tuesday, Beyond BMR, 8 Central. Wednesday, the Diva Dimension, 9 Central. Thursday, right back here with good old BMR, Brunch with Bigfoot Michigan Rob, 12 Central. Thursday nights, the Blondes and Booze come on at 8 Central. Friday, if you need a little more woo with the booze, check out the Blondes, the Booze, Friday, 8 Central. Tex, Infamous Minds on Sunday, 6 p.m. Central. And a new podcast, Truth or Tinfoil, comes on right before that at 5 p.m. on the Texas Front Porch channel. So please subscribe. Thank you to everybody. And we're going to get on with this show today. And because I've got to say, I've spoken with a lot of people. In 2018, I had my Bigfoot encounter. And you know, it was something traumatic. And I've spoken with people with 20, 30 years experience regarding my encounter. I get inundated with emails all the time. And one of the guys that I really respect in this field is Barry Littleton. Barry's been on 7, 8 times. He's kind of a regular. You see Barry here every couple months. And I finally have a chance to sit down and talk about this with Barry. I'm going to bring up Barry shortly. Before I do that, I also have 2 other quick things I would like to mention to everybody. I want to thank everybody that's bought my book. Bigfoot Michigan Rob presents True Cryptid Encounters, Book 1, found on Amazon. The link is in the chat. And of course, it'll be in this show. It's on my page. For those of you that bought it, thank you. And when Amazon comes calling, please do me a favor, leave a review because it does help promote sales of the book. Also, June 7th and 8th is the Alabama Bigfoot Conference taking place in Anniston Performing Arts Center. Tickets are $30 online, $35 at the door. We're having a meet and greet on June 7th, which I believe is already booked, if you can believe that. Our host is going to be Tex Wesson. The speakers, Barton Nunnally, Daryl Denton, the Blondes and the Booze, Jason McLean, Greg Ogles, Martin Groves, and of course, yours truly, good old BMR. So thank you for that. And I'm going to get started with this show and bring up my buddy, Barry Littleton.
Jeez. No Tom Powell? What? Oh, hell, hey, what's up, Rob?
Yeah, Tom Powell. Yeah, Tom Powell. He says it again.
What's up, man?
Hey, shout out to Tom Powell. Barry's hero. Barry's hero.
Oh, we go that far, but he's an interesting
guy. Maybe not the hero, right? But yeah,
Barry. What's up, Rob? Thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
It's always a pleasure having you on. When we get on, whether it's me and you going solo, if I've got another person joining us, we always have a good time. and we get down to business. And what I love about having you on, it's like I can't tell you how many times you've been on. You're probably the record setter because
Really?
I mean, probably 8 times, Barry. I've had some other people on 2, 3 times perhaps throughout the last 2 years. It's hard to believe I've been doing this podcast for 2 years. For two
Really?
years,
In 2
yeah,
years? Wow. Okay.
yeah, Oh, really
Wow.
quick, thanks to ND Southpaw for the amazing super sticker. Great way to start the show. Greatly
That's cool.
appreciated, ND. And if I can't say hi to everybody because I'll be talking with Barry. And so for those that I miss, hello to everybody for coming in, everyone in chat, everyone listening later. I personally appreciate your support and love of the channel and what we all do around here across the board, including Texas Front Porch and the Blondes. So thank you for that. So yeah, Barry, yeah, you've been on about 8 times, and
Wow.
I gotta say this, and I don't mean to embarrass you. You also go on Just Jones a lot, and you are people just love what you have to say, Barry. You have a great information, a lot of good insight, a lot of theories, and I hang on to a lot of what you say because I think it makes sense. And I think I can hear myself in the background, Barry. I don't know if that's your speakers are too high. Um,
How about now?
yeah, I can still hear myself. Yeah, I don't
I'll
know
put
if
you
you've
down
got a.
pretty low.
Do you
Might
have
be our
maybe
connection.
do you have perhaps do you ever use the earbuds or no? Or because typically we don't have this.
No, I don't have any in here.
Well,
I'm
I
sorry.
don't hear nothing right now. We're good for whatever the
Cool.
reason, whatever you did, we're good. Thank you.
Cool.
So yeah, so as I started the show out with, now listen to everybody. I titled the show the Enigmatic Bigfoot. We're gonna get into that today, but also as I mentioned earlier, Barry, you've always wanted to talk about. You have some theories about what you think I saw 2018. And in fact, I don't really like. I'm not going to tell my encounter on this show because most of the people that follow me know my story. What I will do is give a brief snippet of some of it, which we'll talk about. And again,
So throw in, please do, because to be honest, it was the show that I watched with you and who's the lady's name? But
Billa Irwin.
it's the first time I'd ever seen your illustrations, and also there were certain things of the story that I was unaware of that I'd not heard you describe before.
And I think I remember what those were. And yeah, again, the story's 20 minutes. I'm going to hit on what I think you missed about, and also I'm going to show the renditions, the iterations too for you. I got that for you too.
I think that morphing is very important.
Yeah, we were definitely going to get into that. And so for everybody just coming on in, and for Barry's benefit, I'm gonna go through a little bit of what we're going to talk about because a lot of what we're going to talk about makes sense. And again, thank you for doing this with me, and thanks everybody for coming on in.
Well, thank you for having me, and hello to the audience too. I didn't say that. So.
It was 2018, Manistee National Forest. Okay. And fishing with the girlfriend, blah, blah, blah. Surprised you were going. And it's in Cadillac, Michigan, which is in Wexford County. Now, Wexford County, Barry, is the capital, the alleged capital for Dogman. It's one of the original sightings of Dogman in my state. And there's also been a lot of Bigfoot encounters in Wexford. It's a big county. The Manistee National Forest is huge. In fact, Barry, it goes from the west coast of my state to the east. It's that expansive. And we're going to get into that too in a moment because a couple of videos you sent me a month or two ago, I watched. A lot of it, I think, might prove true into today's show. But so, anyways, we're standing. And I'm going to cut out a lot of it. We are now at Mitchell Bay, Lake Mitchell in Cadillac, and there's rocks are being thrown at the boat, and my girlfriend's with me, and she's standing alongside me, and several times she mentioned, Rob, someone's throwing rocks at the boat, and I said, I don't think so. Let me continue to put the bait and tackle together. I'll join you. Then I take a look, then I look in the air, I see a big rock falling out of the sky, kerplunks right in front of the boat, 4 feet away. Look at my girlfriend Cindy at the time, standing there, white as a ghost. It's June 15th. She already has a ripping tan going. Her body was drained of all color. And I'm looking at the shoreline. What the hell is she looking at? And I see this creature. It's 9 foot tall at least. I'm 90 feet away. Get a very good look. Standing there at this time with his arms on the side. And the face, it looked like a humanoid. It looked like a human being, but one with like Down syndrome, disfigured. It had wrinkled gray skin, offset eyes. Again, looked like a person, a very sickly individual, but yet it's covered in all this beautiful, flowing, reddish brown hair from head to toe, exposing light and a powerful chest. But it looked like a person, disfigured person. Then, all of a sudden, it drops its jaw. The gray, scaly, messed up skin gets back, turns out like a blackish purple from the gray, gets very taut. The eyes roll back black. When he drops the jaw, Bear exposes 4 teeth, 2 incisors at the top and 2 at the bottom. And from within, it just bellows out this yell, scream, and screech all in unison from across from the shoreline to the boat. We're 90 feet out. And it metamorphosizes from that humanoid looking creature into what I to this day, Barry, call a demon. Looked like a demon. It looked like something of a Marvel comic book. It looked like something you see on late night horror film television. Looked demonic. And of course, that's how I always tell the story, because that's in 2018, I thought demon. Today, Barry, I'm not so sure, but that's something we're obviously going to talk about here today. But this reverberation, this yell, scream, and screech had such power, kind of like a sonic boom. I can feel it hit me. It hits Cindy. She falls into the water. And now I'm looking at this demonic beast from this metamorphosis. But now the beautiful backdrop of the forest, the green, the blue sky, the orange ripping sun, the water, it all turned a grainy gray, almost like I was looking through a filter of some sort. And it seems like time stood still. And the other thing is, I'm now paralyzed. Cindy's in the water, flipped off the boat. I turn to my right. I try to turn to my right, Barry, but I can't move. I'm paralyzed. I don't know if I'm paralyzed with fear. I do not know if I'm paralyzed with whatever this was emitted upon me, but I can't move. And I'm seeing through a filter. The world that I know today was different. I'm shaking my head. Rob, you got to snap out of this. You got to get Cindy, man. Snap out of it. I get my cognizance back. Now the colors come back. I'm normal. I go over, grab Cindy, get her in the boat, look to the shoreline, and this creature, this demon, whatever you want to call it, is now gone. That's where I was most scared. Is it swimming after me? Is it walking on the bottom of the lake? I don't know, Barry, what's going on here. We turn around, sped out of there. And then after that, this is all, then we get back, we discuss it, blah, 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 in the bar. We found a bar, we're talking. And of course, unfortunately, Cindy had passed away 2 months later to the date on August 15th of 2018, man. And then, of course, my world turned upside down. I went dark. I thought this thing killed it because I figured getting hit with that sonic blast, maybe it shook up her organs. She was a perfectly healthy woman, didn't drink, didn't really smoke. And it was like, wow, and doctor says heart attack. Well, that's the thing that I got from her mom, who did not like me. I was the demon as well, Barry, from her mom, because I owned a bar at the time. So I was bad news, didn't like me, did not attend a funeral, couldn't access the medical records because I wasn't married, not family member. So that's always been a mystery on how she passed. And the other mystery reverting back is into this metamorphosis. And I will bring up for you and for everyone watching, because some of the people might have seen the renditions from Sibylla Irwin. I'm going to do.
I'm glad you're showing those. Thank you.
I'm going to show those for you, and then we can get on with. I know you. I can see your wheels spinning. What I'm going to do
They're important.
This is important. What I'm going to do is show the up close. This is the humanoid that I saw initially. And I tell you what, Sibylla Irwin, fantastic artist. This is 92 to 93% what I saw. I can't say it's 100% accurate because you really had to be there, but this is as close a rendition that I've ever gotten. Okay. Um, yeah, there it is. And if you look at that face, it's like I said, it's got the distorted look at the face. It kind of look at the offset eyes, the kind of wrinkled. This guy looks like he's been through a war, Barry.
So it appeared to be a male to you?
Well, I didn't see genitalia.
Okay.
Now, some people have commented they think it looked female to them. And I never really thought about that. But this flowing hair, and I'll show you. Let's see if I got it here. There is the standing up. And if you notice, again, the flowing hair, the genitalia, I didn't notice, so we kind of covered that. And I really didn't want to have, if it was, I didn't notice genitalia. So does that look, first of all, interesting question. Do you think that looks maybe male or female to you?
You know, it's the face to me rather looks kind of grandma-like,
Okay.
you know. But that doesn't mean anything. If you saw genitalia, I think that pretty much settles that.
Yes.
You know,
So,
and you'd mentioned something similar to like a Down syndrome or something. I see what you're saying, definitely.
okay. Yep. And now
Very,
here
very
is the up close, and I will show the up close of what it metamorphosized into. I'll give the up close picture here.
Wow.
And I'll do the side by side. But if you look at that taut skin, look at those teeth.
Mm-hmm.
And now when it did, it raised its arms when it did the ground. Now here is where then it raised its arms from its side. And this is right here, the point where it comes out with that sonic blast or boom at me, where I got where it metamorphosized, of course, and where I got hit with that. Everything turned black and white. Cindy fell off the boat. This is what that appeared. And now, yeah.
Two questions, Rob. One is, did Cindy, when she fell off the boat, prior to that, did she experience the same type of aphasia feeling that you felt and dizziness? And also, could you describe what it exactly looked like when its face morphed from the old guy into that again? What actually you saw the face do? Could you describe those two for me?
Yeah, sure. So in the beginning, when it looked like the old fella, girl or guy, again, now I never thought of it being a woman or a female, I should say, but who knows? So this creature standing there with, looking like that. Okay. Now when it rolls back and it looks like this, what happened was it bellowed back, started raising the arms parallel, and then the face got taut. It just, when I look, I see that old man face or old person face. The jaw drops. When the jaw kind of drops down, when it opens its mouth, is when he goes back, and that's where the skin, you could just see it just tighten. And you could see the black of the eyes just roll back, and he turned black. Not that opaque, like color, See that? That was kind of looks opaque, kind of look like a human eye. And then, of course, then it goes to the deep dark eye, the dark skin, grayish, wrinkled, kind of looks like a human, I guess, right? But then this definitely ain't no human. That's why I always say it looked like a demon. But then, so it got taut, and as it's getting taut and exposing the teeth, is when it yelled, is when that roar reverberated. Now, this is when I hear the kerplunk of Cindy falling off the boat after this thing is already completed the morphosizing. And that's where I no longer have my full awareness or cognizance. Is where everything kind of looked like a filter. When I got her in the boat. Now, Cindy when we talked about this, of course, as you can imagine, ad nauseum, she felt in her stomach, I never disclosed this to anybody, but since you asked the question, she felt sick. She thought that time was lapsed. It was like she was seeing something in a different time zone, she mentioned, which I never disclosed that in the encounter story because there's so much. This is so elaborate. But yeah, she felt different and she lost balance. And you got to remember, she's like 5'1", 109 pounds. And the boat we were on was like a skiff. It was like sitting 8 inches out of the water. And it was just a rental I picked up for $30 to tool around the lake on, right? It wasn't a big bass boat or a Ranger fishing boat. It wasn't the stablest, but for two people sitting down fishing, sure, you know. So yeah, so the metamorphosis, to answer your question, it all was like in unison as is metamorphosing. When she falls off, I'm paralyzed, and then I cannot proceed. I can't move. Then when I got her back in, she was fine as far as she had her senses about her. Then we went back, spoke at the restaurant/bar. What is this? What is it? I don't know. And then, the story goes further, but for the purpose of today, I think that we've got the information. And really quickly, I will give you the side by side, and then we'll move on with the pictures here. This gives you a little better. See the
Yeah.
side, see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
See how that jaw is? It's kind of more cropped up, and it kind of drops.
And
And
Rob, those teeth don't look, sorry, I mean interrupt. Those teeth don't look like there's somebody like for say that is missing teeth, but it's from decay. That looks like predator type of
I think it looks
configuration.
predatorial to me. Yeah. I
And
mean,
I
I
mean,
always,
yeah,
I always say demonic looking. Does that strike you as a correct verbiage or adjective? I mean, that's what I
yes,
thought, man.
is correct. In terms, especially, I think it's very noteworthy of the black eye. How the eyes go completely black. I think that says more than what we might think.
And and before we move further, there's one guy that he's become a pen pal of mine on email. He watches the show, but he doesn't go and chat or anything. And he lives in Cadillac, Michigan. This man's 50 years old. And I first dropped the video, I did not have a channel up, but for my personal therapy and what I was going through at the time, I was told, "Hey, Rob, you got to talk about this. Just get it out there." And I'm like, "Well, man, what do you suggest? I mean, people aren't going to believe this. I mean, because at the time, Barry, did I believe in Bigfoot or paranormal or ghosts? I did. Growing up, I have an open mind. I was into that. I watched Leonard Nimoy, with the Bigfoot, right?
In search of, yeah, yeah.
In Search of, that was one of my favorite shows growing up. I saw the Patterson Gimlin film, but it was nothing that I didn't become a researcher because of it. Because my life, I was working for a motor company, right? I mean, then I bought a bar. I always would watch the shows. I would always be interested, but I never thought it would turn into a YouTube channel. Or yeah, the only reason I have a YouTube channel is because what happened to me, I just wanted to help people, so I started a channel, right? And talk about these things. Now, for the last 5 years, it's 2024 now, going on 6 years. Yeah, now I investigate all sorts of cryptids and paranormal ghosts and things, and met a lot of great people such as yourself. Edith says, I think it was about 9 foot tall, my estimation, Edith. So anyway, yeah, that's why I'm doing this today now, because I'm immersed in the subject and the topics. But getting back to this guy that
Change
emails
your
me,
life,
he lives in
Encounters do that.
it's life changing. It's funny how our lives and our careers they go. For me, it was a life changing thing. I never thought I'd have a podcast. If I would have had a podcast, it might have been because I'd done a sports channel, because I'm a sports guy. And I never knew that YouTube even had shows like this, because I only use YouTube to watch music videos. I never went to a chat room in my life. I never watched shows that we see now. I never used YouTube to how to bake a cake. It was just something that I really had nothing to do with. So I had to start a handle, and I did that video as was suggested now to speak on it, make you feel better. Well, dude, it did kind of made me feel better. But then I started getting more involved in the community. Then I went on a couple radio shows, told my encounter. I started feeling better about it. And then I decided, you know what? I'm not the only one out there. And I felt alone for this longest time that who's going to believe me? But then I found the community, found some great people. Rob, you're not going crazy. You're not nuts. You saw something. Because to this day, Barry, I'm not going to say I saw Bigfoot. I mean, I say my Bigfoot encounter, but I still to this day don't know what the heck it was.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So again,
Yeah.
reverting back to my email guy who lives in
Just
Cadillac.
keep it real.
And so again, for the third time, reverting back to my buddy that lives in Cadillac that saw my video in 2018. And by the way, the full video, my encounter story for those new is on my channel. If you want to check it out, it's about 20 minutes, 15 minutes long. So anyway, yeah, he's been there 50 years. Manistee National Forest, lives in Cadillac, knows about Lake Mitchell where I saw it. He, throughout years, has always heard unusual animal-like yells from the woods. That he's always wondered what it was. Okay. He actually, after seeing my video, went to that actual area, but he went from the road, and he went back to the road because there's a Mitchell Creek that cuts through there, but it's very marshy and swampy. He couldn't get back there, but he found it very unusual. As far as he could get back there, he goes, Rob, there were abandoned boats back there that with motors on them. That why would somebody just leave these motors back there? I mean, you're talking about $1,000 engine motor on a boat
Mm-hmm.
abandoned.
Mm-hmm.
If I got stuck in a marsh, Barry, I'm calling AAA. I'm calling a towing service to get my boat the hell out of there. Right? Would you not agree with that?
Mm-hmm.
Certainly. Why were they abandoned? He said it seems like they've been there for years. And then he went on to mention something about the Manistee National Forest, parts of it being haunted, which brings us
There
up
you go. There you go,
which,
my friend. Yes,
which
yes.
brings us up to
Yeah.
unmanned and dark entities. And by the way, everybody, Barry Littleton's channel is simply Barry Littleton on YouTube.
I need to
If
get
you
a
like
cool
my
handle or something.
yeah, if you like this show or follow this show, you will love Barry's show, his channel, because he does a great breakdown on all things strange, cryptids, paranormal, time travel, and things that I never thought about. So go check out Barry. But yeah,
Yes,
so
yes.
yeah, and you and so watching one of your videos, it talked about hauntings of the land or curses on the land. So if you want to, I've spoke for the first 12 minutes of the show. Why don't you get into this a little bit?
Well, that's important, because it's you spend a lot of your shows interviewing other people, and sometimes it's important to get your thing out there because it is very cathartic, and it is
Yep.
releasing of trauma. It was a traumatizing event you had, big time. No way getting away from that. It wasn't a positive thing, but it did result in positive expansion of your consciousness, and you're helping people now. So what I'm going to say, I want it to be known that I'm not the authority on everything, all
Yeah.
right? And there are many
Right.
other explanations it could be, but we have to expand our modality into things and awareness into other things that might encompass this, all right? And there are things that do go into the paranormal to a degree, definitely. I think that the fact that this thing was actually throwing rocks shows a certain amount of definite organic components there, all right? But when dealing with these natural lands, like where I came from, there is just a massive amount of Native American bloodshed in like the city I grew up in, at least there was back in wherever when. And sometimes there's certain spots that's just saturated with that blood. You get that blood on the land and you get things that start manifested from the earth and manifesting from the land too. And when you start taking this and contrasting it and kind of combining it with what's the gentleman that wrote the book I Fought the Apes of Mount St. Helens. He kept talking about them being
Fred
Sasquatch
Beck.
being. Yes, Fred Beck. Thank you. Beck. Yeah, old Beck. He has a coach named Beck, and he sucked. So I should remember that name always. Anyway, yeah. We all carry trauma, right, bro?
Yeah,
Anyway,
oh, man, we do.
but he had mentioned them being manifested beings. All right.
Yeah. Right.
And how he felt that they manifest when they're near people, which implies that when you get around the morphogenic field of people, these beings have ability to manifest and come from another dimension or whatever you want to call it. What that means, none of us really know. Does that mean it's shorter, longer? What is another dimension? What is their form like there? But nonetheless, there's a form that they're unmanifested and they come here. And we also have, the earth being a living entity also holds its imprints. The same way babies imprint and things, the earth imprints too. And when you have the imprint of certain beings and certain societies that are left here, the earth is still holding that imprint. And they can come as either phantom images and things that also manifest. That takes us even to something even more paranormal type of spiritual talk, which would be inorganic beings and the inorganic beings that exist on this earth and are able to manifest through like haunted lands where these portals are more frequent. And a couple of things I want to bring up about this, Rob. All right.
Yes.
And that's that, it's that the nature of your encounter. First of all, this thing went out of its way to throw some rocks at y'all to get your attention. Okay. Which is kind of the opposite of what normal Sasquatch would do. They'll drive you off and get you out of there, but you're in a boat way out there. It was saying you're coming in closer. It was trying to get your attention. Then it went even more intense, deliberately to scare you and to hit y'all with infrasound. And it implies much more to get your emotions going, the negative thoughts, the adrenaline, and any of these beings that are these quote unquote negative entities that feed on negative thoughts. I've heard it all sorts of different things. We could call it, I've heard people call it loosh. I've heard people calling it all sorts of different things. I call it, you can call it DOR, deadly orgone radiation, which is a type of a negative orgone life energy that comes from, holds clouds together too, nimbus clouds. But that's it. These are things I think we're dealing with there. And when what you dealt with there, it sounds like we all know what possession is, but there's something else that they call obsession. Okay. And obsession is when people are encountering, which is much more frequent these days, people encountering like dogs with human faces and animals with human faces. And when dealing with what this thing did to you, okay, it sounds very much, I pick things up psychically, okay? Okay. I don't always say that openly, but I do. And that's why I get a lot guided to a lot of things. With this, I kept picking up decisively Banshee, okay? And it sounds like this thing had the characteristics of a Banshee. But if you start looking deeper into that, and in the Native Americans version of a Banshee, you start finding something that's been called, I've seen it named Banshee Bigfoot, Banshee Sasquatch, Banshee Ape, Banshee Gorilla. Heard it called that. But when I wasn't able to find very many pictures or images of what it would look like, but the one I did see, the body looks similar to what you have there. And this is a type of a Sasquatch that is screaming, that brings sickness. They call it like the cousin of a Sasquatch. Similar, but it causes a type of sickness, and it's even more than just a warning of oncoming death like the Banshee itself. Now, the Banshee itself was supposed to be described as a type of a white woman with this long flowing white hair. All right. Now, if we people probably gonna boo me off your show, but I'm gonna keep
no, they never boo Barry. No one boos Barry. Boo's awesome. You're awesome.
You got a very forgiving audience. I get nervous. I get excited too. But listen, when talking about this, the Banshee thing, and comparing this, and I've done another video. I don't know if I sent you this one, but it's called The Sasquatch and the Woman in White. When you start looking into some of these accounts, there's a bunch of accounts going back, not just present day, but going back historically, especially with Native Americans, of Sasquatch being seen with this woman in white, a tall woman in white with white flowing hair. They show up together in encounters. Look into that, and people will find that a lot more frequently than you think. I would almost contrast this a little bit with something I can't really talk about much, and that's the spear finger witch that our friend has talked about with one of their teams. I'm not allowed to talk about. That's another type of these things, these witch type of things that inhabit the forest. But when dealing with the Sasquatch showing up with the woman in white, Well, doesn't it sound like a banshee? And we
Yeah.
start dealing with these beings that might be in a different dimension interacting, or in one of these labyrinth, or not labyrinth, I'm sorry, genetic facilities underground or wherever. Like Jessica keeps coming across during these blind targets I give her. Sometimes she keeps picking up on these facilities, like the chupacabra one and stuff like that. There's something going on. And Rob, that's nothing new. We think right now, oh, it's the government doing it now, and yada yada. The big brother doing it now. But in reality, these are things you can look at biblically. I'm not a religious man, but I can look at some of the texts. This stuff has been going on for thousands and thousands of years. Whatever organizations those are producing these chimeras and these negative, they're using these inorganic beings, these type of sorcery things, that's been going on a long time. DNA stuff, that's not just now. That's been going on a very long time. And this used to be a type 1, maybe type 2 civilization here that we're barely aware of now. So anyway, sorry, but that's just, I
No,
think
that's fine.
I think it's worthy bringing the connection of what this thing actually did to you unnecessarily, okay? Unnecessarily, and how it brought a type of sickness to perhaps your girlfriend. I
Yeah,
don't rule
well,
that out. I don't think your idea of that is wrong. And when we get these places that are saturated, haunted lands full of blood, you get these negative inorganic beings and these imprinted beings that can manifest.
and I love the points you brought up. I think that's maybe a sickness was imposed on her purposely by this being, right? And you also talk about the haunted, just the land. Now, I made mention Manistee National Forest is very expansive. It travels again from the West Coast to the East Coast. It's all over. So it's our biggest national national park. And you mentioned about the earth, the tainted earth. And again, I've done research on Cadillac, Michigan. Not too many people, number one, people I've spoken with have not heard of that. And I can't find too much of that on the internet. I found something north of there that's haunted. But when you talk about the earth, when I talk about the forest, I always talk about the forest being a network, much like the internet. It's connected, whether it's on the East Coast or the West Coast, the ground, the trees, the elementals of the woods, they all interact, right? And I think if perhaps Cadillac isn't haunted or sacred ground, but I'm thinking with these connections interwoven in the land, it could travel. It could travel to Cadillac, perhaps not haunted, but these entities could perhaps evolve and manifest from the negative energy. What's your thoughts on that one?
I'll tell you something else I picked up, and this was prior to this deal. And it's very interesting because I think it was, I'm not sure if it was the lady you had on that show, or maybe it was Robin McCrae. Somebody mentioned to you, and you mentioned a barn,
Robin
being
McCrae,
nearby
yeah.
to there.
And
I think that when
and for
looking at
those,
that,
I will
sorry,
tell everyone listening, no, it's cool. That's an awesome point. Okay, the Red Barn, I had Robin McCrae on last year. She broke
it
it down.
was red. Okay.
Robin McCrae has spoken with alleged my creature, and it was on my show when this happened, you guys. But I got to tell you something. I never met Robin. Now, yes, have people heard my story? Probably a lot. And maybe she did. She claims she did not hear my story, and I believe her. I talk to Robin every month because she's got Bigfoot all over her property and she's been doing it for 30 years. And I back Robin. Okay. I will back her. And the reason I back her, Barry, because of these people that claim that they do mind speak or they can read minds or they can just predict the future. That to me, something I was like trying to. It was hard for me to grasp, but I will tell you this: we're doing my show with Robin. I never ever told anybody about the Red Barn because the Red Barn, frankly, you guys, has nothing to do with my story. So I always purposely omitted it. I never thought much of it at all until Robin brought up during a show and communicating with this entity, Barry, that he came from around the Red Barn. And damn if there was not a red barn, not 40 feet from where this thing was stood. That no one ever knew about, but she knew it.
You know, it's little significant things like that that it might behoove you to investigate the history of that red barn. Who owned it?
Mm.
Who was the family? What all went down there? Is that somewhere satanic stuff went down? Is it something like that? Is it somewhere that when the Sasquatch told her, I came from around the barn, does he mean he manifested out of the portal there? Is that what that means? Or was hiding from behind or come around from the forest? It leaves it somewhat nebulous, but I think it's worthy to look at all options. You know what I
Y-
mean?
Yeah, and here's the thing too, because you gotta believe me, since 2018, I've been looking up everything about Cadillac, Michigan, Wexford, and I did come across a haunted village north of Cadillac. But here's the yeah, a
Oh,
haunted village. Yes, dude. Yeah.
and I gotta ask you. I'm gonna get in trouble for this. Look, man, in Cadillac, Michigan, is there a lot of brothers there or what?
You know, dude,
Sorry, man.
man, you know what that I think it's but I do think it is um First Nations. Cadillac, I think is a First Nations term. Yeah.
Okay.
Now there's no brothers, you know. They don't drive Cadillac caddies up there. When I was up there, they're all SUVs and pickup trucks. They're more
Some more
hillbillies.
clamping, like the
Yeah,
clamping's okay.
yeah, you know.
Hey, sorry, man. Just messing with you.
No,
You were
man,
saying
that
something
no,
before I said that, though.
that's
That's all right.
I know that's you're cool, man. That's fine. That's awesome. But okay, so going back to the investigation of Cadillac and the surrounding areas, I don't come up with any of these hauntings, anything mysterious going on there. In fact, though, what I really wanted to know, I looked up on databases how many Bigfoot or Dogman or unusual encounters have been reported in Cadillac. Okay, now here's my thing. Not a lot. Wexford, Michigan, 200. Wexford, the county of Wexford that Cadillac resides in, over 200. It's big. More Dogman than Bigfoot, to be honest with you. But here's the thing. In the city of Cadillac, the town of Cadillac, I don't think one, not even, I think there's two reported Bigfoot encounters. So my thing is this: if what I saw to be a Bigfoot or whatever, I'm more likely, or I'm more apt to think it was a manifestation or something ethereal. Because if it was something that roamed that town, there'd be a lot more sightings. So maybe that red barn is a portal. Maybe it comes through when it wants. Because I got to tell you, for all the people that live there, you would think if there was something roaming that area, there'd be
Mhm.
more encounters, or maybe it was just a rogue happening through and never returned. You know, we hear the theory about Bigfoot getting disbarred from his clan and they just roam the forest by themselves, disgruntled, ticked off because they're now, because I do believe that the Bigfoot creature or being or ancient person is a socialized element, right? I think they're social. You always hear them traveling with their families and such. Where there's one, there's bound to be more. So I'm kind of surprised at the fact that not a lot of encounters come from Cadillac, which makes me think that perhaps it just came through a portal. It happened to be there, went back in. And the Red Barn now, as you mentioned, could be a significant part of this story, which I'm going to have to further investigate, right?
Yeah, yeah, a focal point for that area and for that land there, that specific area where that thing was at. You know what I mean? And in terms of it possibly just being completely only a flesh being creature, which is possible. When I look at it and the way it looks, it makes me think of a lot of oh gosh, it wasn't Scott Carpenter. The guys that I forgot his name that actually compared to Sasquatch behavior of autism
Okay.
and several things that they do with like the patterns they're making and things. He really made this correlation of their behaviors and ability with patterns and things was somewhat autistic, seem like the way they might perceive things. And when you see the way that being actually looked, that just kind of comes to my mind for some reason. But I don't know. It very old, regardless. But that almost, and the thing that I can't get over that takes us into the paranormal from away it just being a flesh and being only is what's with the black eyes. You saw the eyes change, and I don't care what person you get that claims to shapeshift, that make these claims. Let's see them make their eyes go black like that. Can't do it. That's a whole nother thing going on.
And for
You know,
those those who just joining us, the figure that I saw, and then the figure on the left, what I originally saw, then that's the metamorphosis. And if you do look at those eyes, Barry, they kind of look, they definitely look human. I mean, they're opaque and they're kind of dull, but
mhm.
then, man, the black eyes roll back black.
Hey Rob, you
And
remember like the first season of the X Files? They had a representation of what people now call black goo that was this black oil type of substance that was supposed to be the
I,
grays without bodies, and it would
yeah,
overtake human bodies and make the eyes black like that. You know, and then we've got the black-eyed children, but I think the black-eyed children are something different completely. But just that situation of that and the morphing of the face, and if we want to talk about quote unquote what I Sasquatch, I'm a firm believer that they go far back, you know, but they also have when you start dealing with concepts like what Carlos Castaneda talked about, and really the dream body and dream attention.
mhm.
And I think you have types of Sasquatch that's got enough human genome to be able to do that and to be masters of perception. We already know they're masters of invisibility. No matter how you want to look at that, they keep away from people, don't they? Which I think also shows a great deal of intelligence. But my theory, you know.
Right.
Yeah, but I mean, these are things that really I think need to be taken into deal. But that it just I can't get over the morphing of the face, and when you start dealing with some of those type of Toltec shamans and things like that, like Castaneda talked about, shapeshifting was common. They all knew how to do that. They did it through awareness and perception, a different way that we normally hear. And to think that there wouldn't be a types of Sasquatch that might have that same ability and learn some of those on intelligence level is not practical. And if you do, you get things like the being like that can do is type almost like shapeshift of the face and things like that. Although it seemed to be older and kind of burned out. But I mean, that's a, you know, but I don't know. The eyes are important, and just the way it went out of its time, out of its way to bring you misery is more the characteristic of a negative inorganic being or a demon type to me
So
than it
would you
is.
say then with this being, this is we'll just call it a being for today's show, was that a shape shifting move it performed with, or was that just, you know what I always relate to? You know about the baboon, how the baboon in the forest, first of all, it is ugly as heck, anyways. But it also, this thing reminds me of a baboon when they are mad or if they're protecting or if they're ready to attack their prey. They have that ability to make the skin taut, that jaw kind of drops and exposes all their teeth. And if you do a side by side on a baboon in its natural state versus its predatorial state, they do look a little bit different, which is kind of during my research into this is kind of what this reminded me of. But you're saying now perhaps it just shape shifted into that.
Well, part of it, you know what I mean? Some
Part of
form of
yeah.
it, you know. Yeah, well, like a minor shift, you know. And who knows? Maybe it's too old to do more than that. Maybe it's
Yeah.
burned
You know,
out.
well, I tell you, it looks like an old fella. The first picture looks like some guy that's been through a war.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
And I
Whoa,
and,
wow,
and I and I wonder, man, now I'm thinking
wow.
about something. Do you think that maybe he was a sickly, we're coming up on, we got to take a break here in about a minute, Barry. So let's keep this, let's remember this, and we can continue on. Do you think that old decrepit looking figure, and if you go back, I'll just reflect back to this once again. On the left, old decrepit, right? On the right, young, virile, hostile. Okay. So
Mhm.
do you think, and give me your opinion when we come back, do you think that perhaps it did when it came up with that sonic blast, when it roared, screamed, and yelled, when we lost all perception of reality, that in fact it cast his sickness on my girlfriend who died 2 months later. And maybe it does this. Maybe it comes out and does this to regain the youth, right? Perhaps. And there's a guy, Father Malachi Martin, I was reading up on, which talks about this. And I got to leave it. I got to put a pin in that because I'll go over to break. Thanks for everybody coming in. Barry Littleton, subscribe on YouTube. We got to do a 5-minute break for our cut up that we do for the podcast. We will be back. Thanks, Barry. Thanks for everybody for coming in. Thank you to ND South for your awesome super chat. We'll be back in 5 minutes. Don't go anywhere. Get your popcorn. Get your beverage of choice. We'll be back in a second.
nightmares in my head, I fear that the thoughts build up until I can't hear, that my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the show. I lost Barry. Hopefully, Barry's reestablishing his connection. And so I'm sure he'll be up shortly. It'll give me the time to thank everybody that's bought my book, Bigfoot Michigan Rob Presents True Cryptid Encounters, book one, found on Amazon. The link is pinned here in the chat. It's also on my YouTube channel in the About page or on the main page. Thank you for that. Thank you once again to ND Southpaw for your awesome super sticker. Super chats are a great way to help support what we all do around here. So thank you so much for that. Also, don't forget Texas Front Porch Mondays, 8 Central. Tuesdays, Beyond BMR. I come on Tuesday night, 8 Central, 9 in the East. Thursday, Brunch with Bigfoot Michigan Rob. Of course, that is 1 Central, one in the East. One in the East. And then the Blinds and the Booze Paranormal Podcast. They, of course, come on Thursday at 9 in the East. And again, Friday at 9 in the East. So go check them out. And Tex is doing something called Infamous Minds. You can find Tex on Texas Front Porch. Please subscribe to Bigfoot Michigan Rob if you're new here. The Blinds and the Booze Paranormal Podcast if you're new here. And of course, I'm still waiting for Barry. He lost his connection. He'll be back. And I want to thank everybody again for buying the book, for coming on in if you're new. And also, you guys, for those just popping in, we are doing a Bigfoot conference, the Alabama Bigfoot Conference, June 7th and 8th. Speaker lineup. Well, Tex Wesson is our host. Barton Nunley, a speaker. Daryl Denton, the Blondes and the Booze. Jason McLean, Greg Ogles, Martin Groves, and of course, good old Bigfoot Michigan Rob. So thanks for that. Thanks for everybody for coming on in. And I don't know where Barry went. I know it's got to be a snafu. I know that he's going to be joining us shortly. I just sent him a message. I don't even know if he got the message I sent to him. So, again, Barry should be back shortly. I'm thinking. And so I'll start with some shout outs here till we get Barry back, because I don't want to lose my train of thought, because I had a great question for Barry coming up. Hello to Chris, Mindfork. Go check out Mindfork. Go subscribe to Chris, Akashi Chris. She's got a great channel. Freaky Geek, Aussie Sue, Werewolf. No, thanks for putting out the links. No, The Girl and Her Gong, Diane Boss, Edith Gomez, Moon at Noon, Channel Warhorse. Who else we got in here tonight? There's like 50 of you in here, but I can only see a few names for whatever the reason. Thanks for coming on in. What else? What else do we got? What else? Well, that's all I see for right now in the chat. But thanks for coming in. Again, we're talking about. I respect a lot of what Barry does, and I've had a lot of people talk to me about my Bigfoot encounter, right? And I've got a lot of theories, a lot of different hypotheses on it. And Barry is presenting some things tonight for us, which are really, they're hitting me as something different. And I get emails from people, because I guess my encounter story reaches out and affects a lot of people in different ways. And they offer me their theories, their thoughts. Barry's coming back up. And that's why I'm so glad to have Barry back, as he's now ready to join us to do this. I feel like I talk about my encounter a lot, but people like to hear it. And I love Barry's perspective. He's a respected guy. Barry Littleton on YouTube. He also has a Patreon. Go check him out. Now Barry's back, got the connection back, because I don't know if I want to speak for another 30 minutes about myself. Love y'all. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for the support. And here is, bring it back up once again, Barry Littleton.
Hey,
yeah,
can you hear me?
yeah,
Right?
Barry, yeah, I got
Sorry,
you.
my whole net went down, so I had to get my Wi-Fi going here. My phone.
Man, well, I'm glad you were back, because I had another 30 minutes to fill, and I was trying to randomly think what to talk about next. But I knew you'd be back. No apology necessary, Barry.
I'll tell you what, I know exactly where we left off, though. It was interesting you mentioned Malachi Martin. You know, I listened to Art Bell live every time that man was on there from the beginning on. And the first night I was listening live at like whatever it was, 1 a.m. And fascinating how much illumination he brought to that, especially when it comes to perfectly possessed people, as he called them. But
Yeah.
and back in regards to what you were saying about this being, is that just what it does? Quite possibly, to create that type of energy to sustain itself, to also to these are beings that feed on negative thoughts and feed on actually negative vibrations and fear, all these things, but also how it projected a type of sickness. And that's why it took me back to the banshee type of concept, and finding out more. But what actually Native Americans calling that, like I said, that banshee Bigfoot, banshee Sasquatch thing, banshee ape, banshee gorilla, but it's doing the same things that the other banshee that is from Europe area, and I think Italy and all over there. It's more reported in those areas over there, and that's, like I said, the blonde woman with the white dress on, and then connecting that with these reports of Sasquatch with the tall women in white, and them appearing together, especially in some of those reports like around New Mexico and places like that. It's, I think that brings a lot more to it, because it did those things. It did exactly what a banshee would do to you, did it not?
It did.
Yeah, so that, it just fits all those parameters. So, but you were saying something about Malachi and kind of drawing it connected to that. I'd heard him talk before about obsession and about
I
those
thought,
dogs and those demons coming forward. And
well, here's the thing that I struck about Father Malachi Martin. He's an exorcist. He's a Roman Catholic priest. And I watched the series that Art Bell did with him. He had a 16, boy, it was 16 different parts, different chapters. And I've been interested in exorcisms and things like that. I'm interested in everything that's strange and weird, of course. Does it scare the bejesus out of me? Absolutely. Because I do believe in God, therefore I do believe in the devil, and I do believe in possession. But even more, but what struck me though about what the doctor was saying, the Malachi Martin was saying, Barry, was not so much the exorcism of extracting a demon from a possessed soul or human body or person, was that a lot of times these demons, they have a sickness, they have an illness, they have something cast upon them that they want themselves to exorcise. So what they would do is find a human body, a soul, and try to extract that or get that eradicated and pass that illness or sickness onto an unsuspecting carrier, which would be the human body or the soul. So for all these years, last 5, 6 years, and again, Cindy was a perfectly healthy woman. And I have to, one of my thoughts, Barry, is this, that this thing was getting rid of its sickness. And again, if you look, and if you guys, if everyone takes a good look at this, if you look at a good look at the before of the what I seen, and then after it yelled, I got it right here. If you look at the side by side, Barry, on the left, decrepit old being, right? On the right, virile, strong, very intimidating. Certainly, the one on the left is intimidating. This thing's 9 foot tall. If you come across the one on the left, you're intimidated. I don't care who you are. That is something that's not supposed to exist. And now look how vigorous and viral the one to the right is. And this is after he let out that roar and after Cindy knocked off. Cindy dies 2 months later. I'm wondering if some of his sickness was brought on,
wow,
and I'm wondering if this is something that does annually, quarterly, to regain its youth and vitality.
wow. That's a very fast. That's a fascinating concept. And something more than that. What if also it starts gathering energy, and it got enough to be able to do that? That's taking kind of the quantum Bigfoot Ron Moorhead's thing into account,
Yeah,
how they have to actually gather the energy the same way they would deplete a camera. They deplete the batteries because they're getting that energy to manifest and do these things. What if you think about it, it got your attention, And then she was already mesmerized and starstruck by it. All right. And, almost catatonic degree. Right. So it's already starting to pick up this negative energy from her. Then you saw it and he's able to pick up enough of this and then do what you're saying, to do enough to morph the face and do that and project the infrasound to injure you. And was it trying to get rid of sickness? That's a fascinating concept. A transfer of sickness. Infrasound will do that on its own. Infrasound has horrible effects on the body. Horrible.
I did want to ask you about.
You can't hear it, to feel that part of it. So
I did want to ask you about the infrasound because a lot of people that's heard the story ad nauseum, of course. I never really mentioned infrasound in my story. I never do, and I know I know infrasound exists. I know that mammals, elephants, lions, tigers presented. I've heard that it can be projected by Bigfoot or other these cryptids. But boy, I think I got hit with something. Maybe a combination of. If you've heard of ultrasound.
Yeah, ultrasound. Yeah.
So maybe mine was a combination of both because
ultrasound.
I never heard of a person get hit with infrasound and experience what I did. When I hear infrasound, people do get a little bit stunned. They do have they experience a little bit of confusion, and they get sick, a lot of nausea. See, neither one of us got sick, nauseated. So I'm just trying to wonder if there was something an uptick. And I just started investigating ultrasound, and that's something that's a little bit different than the infrasound, correct?
Yeah, ultrasound, ultra frequencies. Interesting thing is when I heard Sasquatch yelling between mountain passes, the way it seemed to us, the distance. But when it was over, there's a group of people who were standing up just listening to him. And it wasn't until Peter O'Toole, the actor, his son, Larkin O'Toole, ran out with his recording equipment trying to record him. They all three stopped like that. I was standing there, and this one lady says, I was like, man, that's kind of creepy. One lady says, they sounded like whales out of water. And that's when I started kind of thinking, I kind of see how she thought that. When we start thinking about whales use ultrasound, don't they?
I believe so. I think I've heard the killer whale.
Echolocation too. Yeah.
I heard the killer whale. You've heard about the killer whale is the only mammal and that's a mammal, by the way. I think whales are mammals, correct? Or the orca, the killer whale. That's the only creature of the sea that can kill a great white shark. And the great white shark is always the predominant. He's at the top of the food chain. He eats and kills anything in the ocean, with the exception of the killer whale. But the killer whale has the advantage for two reasons. One, I think that they present the ultrasound or not ultrasound, infrasound, but they also attack in groups and they send out a communication to other great killer sharks to attack just the great white shark. I found that to be interesting.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, a dolphin, before it impacts the gill of a great white, it projects a type of sonar, ultrasound. It hits it first before it hits it. And I find that fascinating because if you look at like some types of kung fu, that's kind of the death punch. That's attacking the ethereal net. That's attacking the ethereal net before they impact the gill. That's a highly, highly advanced method of attack.
It is. And, and reverting back to something you said at the beginning of the show that I want to touch on, Barry, because I know you know a little bit about this. Do you know that, and I know you know this because I got this from you. When we talked about Ape Canyon, Fred Beck, the cabin, we all heard about the attack. They shot at these creatures. And do you know that, you know this, so we're going to expound on this a little bit, that he said he was one of the only guys in that cabin. A lot of the guys in the cabin said they were like these crazy ape-like creatures. But Fred Beck in the book said that he thought he was seeing devils. I find that to be very interesting. And that is never brought up of the Eight Canyon story. That is never brought up in research. It's not brought up in reports. It's always about humanoid apes. So this man brings up in his book Devils, and that's the only place you will find it is in his book, and he was the man that was there.
Mm-hmm. And it was the fact, the fear that they generated, but it was also the fact that he kept saying that they have these paranormal, metaphysical things to them, and that's why he's calling them devils too. They shot one, couldn't find the body, and how they couldn't seem to affect him, how they seemed to be manifesting. They kept calling them manifesting beings, and the way they were doing everything. Even their strategic attack against the cabin, I think he said, would lasted all night or days or whatever. He kept saying that over and over. And when you really look at that book is like what, man, Cat is like what, 10 pages? I mean, it's really,
that's a pamphlet,
it's a pamphlet.
Yeah, I love these authors or these self-proclaimed authors that say they wrote a book, and I go to get the book, and this happened to me, Barry. And it was like, my book is only $12.99. It's cheap, and everyone says it should be $15.99. Well, whatever, okay? I bought a book, $15.99. I think it's a book, and it was about demons and Bigfoot. And I'm like, cool, I got to buy this. I bought it on Amazon. More than what I'm charging for mine, which is like 240 pages, something like that. 144, actually. I get a pamphlet, dude, for $15. Less than, a magazine is $15.99. This thing that I got, dude, 8 pages, and I paid $15.
Oh man, wow.
And the information provided was not anything close. So yeah, I just had to bring that up about these pamphlets. Yes, I'm an author. I wrote a book. Well, no, you kind of wrote a pamphlet. I didn't mean to jab at that person. Not going to mention the name or the book. I just find it interesting that everyone's a self-proclaimed author these days.
Yeah, it is what it is, my man.
It is. It's America.
That's one of my pamphlets. We said read that book. Yeah, we read that pamphlet. You're right. You read that pamphlet.
It took me 5 minutes. I ate it right before dinner.
Yeah, but it's good. It's quick and easy, and it got to the point. You know what I mean? And but I think why it was so much not acknowledged as Sasquatch work or Bigfoot work for a long time. There's hard to get around for that. When he talks about manifested beings, I mean, that touches on a lot of different cultures and different things and different anomalies on this planet, all the way. And that goes all the way to those that are truly like us humans walking around, but they have the ability of master of perception and consciousness and awareness. Those are the people that when they go to sleep, they're still fully awake. You know what I mean? Dreaming awake, which means you sustain a lot of dream attention. That's where, and it's through the dream body is where real shape shifting happens. And, and I proposed that. And I put out a video that I got some hate on because I asked a question. I said, are Sasquatch dreamers? And that's like for anybody that has like read a book like Carlos Castaneda's Dreaming, things like that, those books. But in reality, are those beings that can transfer their full cognitive ability, no matter how limited it might be intellectually? Can they transfer their cognitive ability into their dream body, into their energy body, so that when they're dreaming awake? And that means those individuals start being able to transfer the energetic dream body into this world and cognitively working with it. You know what I mean? And that's what, when you start looking at what Carlos Castaneda, that's what his teachers were doing. They were showing up to him a lot of time in their dream body. And then they would do these things that are impossible feats of technically awareness, but physical feats that would make him lose control of his excrement and everything else. You know what I mean? He couldn't handle looking at it. But in reality, when you think about Native American tribes and melanin dominant tribes go that far back that were practicing these dream techniques and these feats of awareness, what makes you think that Sasquatch wasn't involved in some of that? These different types of Sasquatch we got, all these different types. Some of them are highly intellectual, intelligent. And the whole mind speak thing that we mentioned, Robert McCrae, and I did a show with her some time ago on I want to say Monkeys and something. What's the name of their show? It was Brian and Mike.
Right, yo.
I keep
I've
want to
been
say
on their show. They've been on the show
blues and
too.
it's a cool name, like blues and blondes and booze. I like that one too. It's a
Yeah,
pork and beans. Pork and beans. That's it. The pork
Pork
and
and Bean,
beans
yeah,
show.
Pork and Bean.
That's it. Oh
I
yeah,
love
like
those
Porky.
guys. Yeah, I've been on there. They were on my show. I've been on their show. They're cool guys.
Michael, he's been following me since we've been communicating since I first came forward in 2014. So he's cool. But I did a show on there with her, and it was pretty interesting. So I and she talks to mind speaking. I had that from one of these things too, and of course, like I've been on your show enough times, and we'll talk about that again. But did I know it was Sasquatch? No, but whatever it was doing a good impression on the mind speak. And there are other people that have these mind speak, and I don't think maybe it's all those species of Sasquatch that can do it, but there's one type. Maybe it's the Patty type 4-2, who knows, but I think it's worthy. We can't just dismiss that. And when it
I
starts
don't
dealing with
dismiss.
the species that would do telepathy that goes back to when this was a type 1 civilization, you know.
Absolutely. You see, the thing with me, Barry, I don't. You know me. I don't. Anybody that has something or say they can do something or experience something, I'm the first one to get on the bandwagon and support them. Certainly, you got to do some due diligence. I get it, but again, with Robin, hey man, she told me things she should not have known from this alleged being. And here's the thing, though, that a lot of these things, and how do we know? Because, and I've had friends, I got several friends, I won't mention their names, that claim that they communicate, mind speak telepathically. And I'm not going to question them on it because a lot of things they tell me kind of does add up and make a lot of sense, which happened to me last year on a show. And my thing too is, again, what I saw, I mean, for that to happen, do you think, I think that maybe a Sasquatch can mind speak or telepathically, but do you think that no, some of these entities that we might perceive as being Bigfoot are, like you said, pretending, but they're really another entity? There's something else. For example, if I go in the woods, I'm looking for Bigfoot. And let's say I'm in an area where the environment around me, the energy around me knows that I'm looking for Bigfoot. So what about if there's something out there that knows what I want? They play on your mind, but they're actually something else, a malevolent force that's looking and has other intentions for you.
Oh, definitely, definitely. You've got like a plateau of things that we know, plateau of like we want to call demonics, negative entities that are actually attacking and using people that have psychic and metaphysical and mediumship abilities, and looking for things like that to manipulate them. And the most thing going to be is to present something that they are not. I mean, so that is definite. That's happening a lot, But it's very easy because we don't know who we're dealing with. When you're dealing with inorganic beings and earth awareness, these things that come out of the earth and have always been here and are very present in these wilderness places, that we bring our little morphogenic field in there and help, all sorts of stuff happens. So I would say, yeah. And I mean, I hate to say this because I don't want to sound like this negative brother, but this is the way I
Yeah.
look at it. All right. Is that when you look at the natural ecosystems of Earth, the natural ones, all right, they're all predatorial. And I think it's unrealistic for us to think that as conscious beings, when we get out of here and get that it's not predatorial as well. And when we leave our bodies, we don't experience a part of the universe that is predatorial. Got to be on the right frequency. You got to have the right blessings. You got to go the right way. You know what I mean? This is real serious. Why so much of what we manifest through us and through our actions means so much, Rob. It's not a joke. When I died, man, people ask me like, man, what'd you learn? What'd you see? All this and that,
Yeah.
and I could go through it. It's not the cool stuff you're going to see on TV.
Yeah.
But, the main thing I learned was that, and even I'm somewhat a spiritual brother, but I still underestimated the impact that our relationships with each other what they really have, and how much that goes with us. It's all that goes with us. So if you're somebody that's been dogging people out your whole life, hurting people, God forbid, murdering people, when it's time you go through that panoramic life review when your body's done, you know, it's a whole nother thing. It's enough to scare you back. You're judged by your own superconscious. And what is, you know, that can cause you to incarnate somewhere lower than this, back here again, all sorts of different things, you know, and what. So, you know, it's food for thought.
That as you always say, patently food for thought, and everything that you say is great information and things that, yeah, you know, you make a lot of sense with a lot of this. And I tell you what you just mentioned about a person is a truly evil person, to go and experience that at your time of moving on, for your life to be encapsulated, and you're reminded of all the things you did that were horrific. I mean, I'm not that
You
person,
know,
but I can't
you
imagine,
know,
man, what these people go through.
that's going deep. We're going deep. I do a lot of dealing with earthbound spirits and crossing them over, and they're attached to people within the energy field. So much so that you can't detect them in a mediumship on the outside. Okay. So, and they've expressed themselves as negative behavior patterns. So when getting them to reveal themselves, one of the things I ask is, of course, how did you die and why did you not go into the light? And the amount of them that will say, I didn't know what it was, or I felt like I was being cheated, or I was scared because I've hurt people my whole life and I think I'll go in there and burn. It must be hell. I mean, I hear that a lot. A
Yeah.
reason for why they won't cross over and they're still roaming around here, jumping on people, trying to live again. And normally it's through the addictions or the things that kept them earthbound. And then it starts affecting the behavior pattern of the person they're inhabiting, ruining their lives normally. And they're
Man,
totally unaware of it. You know what I mean? So let's just,
yeah, yeah, we are going deep here. I got a question. Do we have the choice to cross over, stay on the planet, or stay in our physical being?
man, it's funny you asked that. I can tell you all the work I've done so far, yes. And I had to accept that because I personally feel that this, and it's based on what I see here, a part of this is a hellish planet. It's a prison planet of some types, and maybe we're caught in a reincarnation cycle, and all these things we hear about the soul traps and the false light and all this and that, and all these things we hear through the media and through people in these communities. All right, it doesn't hold water when I've done the work. It doesn't hold up. Each time I've done many of them, past life regressions. Each time, like for example, Rob, I'll do one that's called Live Between Lives, and you take the person back, and during this process, naturally, a guide comes. Not because I've got you under and I'm telling you, hey, Rob, are you seeing your guide yet? No, that's suggestive. No, it just happens. It's part of the process. And the guide will take this person to a place that I call a place of translation and reconfiguration. And normally there'd be like books there or ledgers, and they'll go over one of them, and it's this life and the lessons they would have learned. And they start incorporating that into their soul deal. Then they choose if they're going to reincarnate. I've tried. Not one of them has said, oh, hey, my guide or my angel's making me incarnate over there. Or,
Yeah.
hey, the light is making me incarnate over there. None of them has said that. I'm going over here. I'm choosing to go here. And then they'll be at this place of reconfiguration and translation reconfiguration I mentioned. A lot of times they'll
Yes.
be on the side, there'll be other souls there. And those are souls, they'll use the term, these are souls I have agreements with, not the word contracts. Never. It's always agreements. We're going to help each other with this and that. And then I can take them to the lifetimes they may have had on earth, and they can identify that person. Some of these souls in their life now, past lives. And I hate to say it, but sometimes it's the people that screw you over the most. And it's hard to believe. Well, I said, man, I'm over you're blissed out on the other side. You said, hey, I need to have an agreement with you to screw me over for a couple of lifetimes so I really get
Right.
it. Oh, hey, no problem. I'll do that for you. Hey, no problem. I got you. But that goes on. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I had to accept that because I can't force the work with the people. What I was thinking, I have to deal with the facts. And we have so much more power or ability when actually we are over there and crossed and we think. It's really a trip. Once we're out of the body, it's not. I think you go out through. It's a lot like when you go through the shock of death. It's like when the alarm goes off. You've been sleeping like 12 hours or 10 hours, real deep sleep. Your alarm goes off, Rob. You hit it, but you're kind of like out of it for like a minute or so until you kind of snap out of it and go on with your day. Get up. But I think death is like that a lot. We come out of it, so we're kind of shocked, and the shock is enough for people to not want to go into the light. So when you hear, excuse my language, but these damn fools, man, that are promoting in this community, oh, don't go into light. It's a reincarnation cycle trap.
Yeah,
how do you know?
Yeah. How
Are
do you know,
a medium? Have you had a near-death experience? Both, which I can qualify for. And
Yes,
3, have
right.
you done earthbound spirit release or a casework of earthbound spirits inside or outside the energy field, like what I just talked about? Hell, do they even know about the one on the energy field inside I just mentioned? That's very important stuff, and it's what takes us, because we're talking about Malachi and them, and that is another level, the demonic attached, the demonic that is doing the same things. We incarnate here with past lives from past life. Well, past life, you just died in a different life. You can still incarnate with that trauma, and it stores in your organs, and you don't even know it. All the traumas store in specific organs, and you've got these earthbounds and these demonic that attach to those specific parts, because that's where our shields are lower and where they can get through more, and they get up in our energy field into our organs. It's a messy deal. So that's what we're faced here. You get to incarnate with your ancestors' trauma, your parents' trauma. You get some of that. You get some trauma from your past lives, and you get just trauma walking around down here like some member of the population. So you get all that that you signed up for down here willingly. But it's definitely an experience. It's that, right? Sorry, man.
No, man, that's awesome. I think we found a topic for yet another show, because we can go on and on about this. I've got to ask you, though, something now.
What's up, man?
And you're the person to ask. You talked earlier about dreaming when we're awake. I know that I've dreamt when I've been awake. I know that I've suffered from sleep paralysis. And I think I've also had out-of-body experience. I think I've done all these things within the last 18 months. I got to tell you what your thought process is on this. I was reading up on astral projection. I was kind of studying it up, trying to figure it out. One night, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning. 3 o'clock in the morning, by the way, I think is what they call the witching hour, right?
Yeah.
How true that is, I don't know. Time is time. It's I think it's irrelevant. But so I was doing this meditation. I had my TV on. I'm in some deep thought, right? And I'm trying to just kind of expand my horizons. Am I trying to astral project? Well, I'm not going to say I was. I'm not saying I wasn't. But I was looking for some sort of experience. Just cleared ahead, right? So I did this for several weeks. Nothing happened. It was just, I did have a relaxing sleep, though, during the meditation, which is why I bring it to this. One night I'm doing this. I'm sitting in this. Now, a lot of people have heard about my story about the gray mist that would swirl around my chair. I said Our Father, and it went away. I'm not going to talk about that right now. That was pretty evil, man.
Not heard that one, man. Not heard that one.
You did not? Well, that happened to me before. We'll have to. There's so much of. Okay, I'll just tell you this because it leads up to this other thing. A while ago, I'm sitting in my same chair. I have an area where I watch TV and study stuff, documentaries, and get prepared for shows, and just to learn, right? And I've got this area in my house. I'm sitting in my chair, and I think I was watching. There was some incantation was spread across my television on some weird B movie I was watching. And Jessica Jones told me, man, Rob, if you got weird verbiage coming over your TV electronically, mute it because you don't know what's coming in. She goes, hey, man, I don't care. Turn it off. And she believes this. You can manifest this. It can come into you. So I told her this story. And then she started telling me, stop doing that, mute it, don't listen to that. And it's not that I'm into satanic stuff. I just want information. I want to learn, right? So I got to tell you something. I'm looking down my hallway and there's this black mist that's rolling down my hallway. It's maybe 6, 8 inches hovering off my hallway. And I'm like, what in the hell is that? I get up, Barry, and I go down this hallway and I'm walking through it and it kind of disperses. I'm kind of really frantic because I'm thinking maybe it's my furnace was something wrong with my furnace, but it didn't smell like smoke. But that's my only thing that I'm thinking. And I walked, the furnace is fine. That smoke, that mist that I went through went away. I go back in my recliner. I go about my business, to watching whatever I'm watching. Here it comes rolling again down the hallway. And now it starts circling around my recliner, man. And much like the paralyzed feeling I got with my Bigfoot encounter, I now am paralyzed. I can't move. I can't yell out. There's no one to yell out to. I live pretty much by myself at the time I was anyway. And now I got my mom with me because I take care of my mom. But here's the thing. I couldn't move. I couldn't yell out. I was literally scared in a panic. And all I can remember doing is, and I could only use my eyes, and my eyes were rolling, seeing this circling my chair. All I think is start saying the Our Father, the prayer. And I'm like you, Barry. I believe in God. I don't go to church. I'm a spiritual guy, I guess. Start saying the prayer. I went to Catholic school my whole life, 1st through 7th grade. Start saying that prayer. Then all of a sudden, I was released from the paralyzation, and that swirling about my chair went away. That had happened to me twice. The first time I didn't say the Our Father, and it seemed like it lasted all night long. The minute it happened again, and I say the prayer, it went away. So I'm worried now that I had some demonic force in here. It hasn't happened since. It has not happened since. But that was when I tell you what, my Bigfoot encounter was scary. That was terrifying.
You know, what you very much described is an incubus or succubus type of being. And, you know, they come around when we sleep and we're falling asleep. And when you're in that twilight is when you can perceive them a little and they attack. And that's when they induce sleep paralysis.
Okay.
And that's what it was trying to give you. And, you know, it's think if you type in incubus or succubus, I think it was, oh boy, I don't want to say this wrong. I'll get crucified. I believe it's the succubus that attacks females sexually when they're sleeping, and it's the incubus that attacks men sexually when they're attacking. But that comes with like, if you type that in and Google it, you get all these little pictures of these little demon-looking things. But actually, people that do work with this talk about it comes a lot as smoke, as type of dark smoke. And that DOR I talked about, deadly orgone radiation. We hear so much about orgone energy, but you don't hear about the DOR, the negative part of it. You know, like for example, when I built these cloud busters when I was a late teenager and started working with them, I didn't ground the water source enough. And I started, like, after a while, I started doing nimbus clouds. I wasn't feeling good always after I used these things. I was starting to pick up this DOR. See what I mean? That's that type of energy right there you're talking about. And it's like coming around trying to paralyze you to feed and get this energy from you, whether it be in your dreamscape somehow. You know what I mean? And you caught it because you weren't quite under enough. You woke up and you caught it. You're still able to see. You know, very interesting and negative, definitely. And that's why, I mean, these things that generate these horrible feelings, these scary feelings, those types of things are negative inorganic beings most of the time. When you get one of them that's of a pot, like for example, I've had encounters my whole life. I did up until I was about 30. And, you know, now it's different how it happens. But when it would happen, when you're really, no BS, folks, what is it really like when you're in the presence of a non-human?
Mm-hmm.
When you're in the presence of a being that has a biofield that isn't like us, they don't feel like us, they don't look like us. It's not just mind-blowing in a way, but what about the energy you get in their biofield? You know what I mean? And the ones I've been around are not hiding from me or things of that nature. And it's very, not just, you know, it's something that gurus are called Shakti Pat. It's when you get by one of the swamis, get around someone's gurus and they touch them and it makes their
Yeah.
chakras open and their kundalini explode and have a kundalini raise. And it just is an enlightening experience. I think that's how some of those beings got misconstrued as kind of gods when they're not. But being in their biofield makes us feel like that when you're in their biofield. So, though, but those beings there is a whole different thing going on than this negativity, fear thing we're feeling. It's not like it's nullified by the love frequency you feel from them or
Okay.
something. It's something a little more advanced than us, you know?
It's definitely something more advanced than us. And the other thing, last point, since I got you here, I'll tell you this one.
Oh, cool.
Same chair, same area, different experience. Again, now this is when I'm reading up on astral projection and such. And I'm sitting in the same chair, same environment, same activity, same part of the house. I'm sitting again in the chair, Barry, and I have TV on. I think I'm not even watching anything spooky. It was whatever it was. I can't remember. It was just whatever was on. Might have been the news. I don't know. Sitting in a chair. And then Barry, man, and everybody listening out there, I swear this happened. I don't know if I'm sleeping again. I don't think I am, but I'm in the chair. And you know the hallway that I told you about where I've seen that mist come down? Well, I get out of this chair and I start crawling on my hands and knees. First of all, who does that, right? I'm crawling and I get to the hallway and I'm crawling down the hallway. And I'm thinking in my head, Rob, what the hell are you doing? And then listen, Barry, what really baked my noodle, I turned around, looked over my right shoulder, and I see myself sitting in the chair. I totally freak out. And then I kind of snapped my head like I was sleeping and I woke up back in my chair, man.
You know, on those the exercises that are the gates of dreaming that are supposed to lead you to where you can actually transfer cognitively all your awareness, totality of your consciousness and cognitive abilities into the dream body, to where you're in the dream body and you can perceive just like you are now, shifting your awareness wise, holding your attention. Okay. When actually doing that, one of the gates, like the last gates, like it starts off with just the simple deal of being able to look at your hands when you're sleeping and then reporting back next day, is it your hands you're looking at it there and figuring out, are these my hands? It just starts like that. But for somebody like me, I may have abilities here in 3D, but when I go to sleep, a lot of times my butt would be out. You know what I mean? I wasn't like this guy that just go in there and all of a sudden do all this lucid dreaming. I had to act a certain way that was like non-routine and ways that gain to help me to store energy and personal power so that I could sustain dream attention more when I went to sleep. So I could look at my hands and do that. That's the first gate. The reason why I'm telling you this, because the second gate is actually being able to shift your awareness from your hands to around your environment. And I mean sustaining, like a gaze, actually sustaining attention. And a lot of people that say they do that all the time really can't. It's a very gifted people that can do that, true dreamers. But that last gate is actually seeing yourself asleep, because you transfer your cognitive abilities into your dream body, into your energy body, whatever you want to call it. Ethereal, we can call it all these cool new ways.
Yeah, I got you.
But no, seriously, but when you act, that's the last gate, is seeing yourself sleeping. So you were actually at that last gate and you're looking at yourself sleeping. And then once you make that awareness, the natural self-preservation, the physical body tends to yank you back.
Okay. No, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, you went through that. It's not just talk, it's real.
Yeah, so that is real. I wasn't like leaving my body then per se.
No, you're what I'm saying is your cognitive abilities were in the dream body. You were in the dream
Yeah,
body.
that's what I meant.
And
Yes.
you look at your physical body knocked out. See, now if you become when you become the spiritual badass or bad, when you become the bad guy, you're a good guy, you'll be able to actually cognitively then move around and still stay in that body and exist there, full cognitive awareness, the totality of you, while you're as long as your physical body is asleep till it wakes up. See
Okay.
but that's the advanced dream work there. It's beyond I can't do it. When I've crossed that last gate, I couldn't make it happen again. That stuff was not. I was practicing all that stuff and then start manifesting even some of it a year later. You're not trying to do it and stuff starts happening to you. You know
Okay.
what I mean? So it's just interesting, you know. So it's reality, man. It shows you have that ability because I kind of think that one of the reasons you could perceive the drinking ghost that night was because you kind
Yeah.
of were crashing out that night, weren't you? When you woke up, whatever, you were still kind of
Yeah.
in that ability to perceive out of that body, and you could
Yeah. I
see
was
them that way. You were close to their level. Yeah,
I was in
yeah.
the basement of my bar. Yeah, I was half-assed doing paperwork and sleep nodding off at it was 3 in the morning when I saw the ghosts up at the bar, man. And it was
Mhm.
yeah, I mean,
You
I've
know,
seen a lot of things, I've experienced, we talked about my Bigfoot today, but I've seen a lot of paranormal stuff in my lifetime. Ever since 5 years old, Barry, when I saw my
see
first
it's
UFO, then my first ghost, and then
see. You
oh,
think you're chasing it? It's always been chasing you. That's
yes.
why when you're doing this now, things are starting to happen for you, and you're having more experiences. You know what I
Yep.
mean? It was always there chasing you. You seen a UFO, man? There's a very big chance you're a contactee. And it's always the people that tell me, "Oh no, not me. I'm not like you." They're the ones that be probably more than me. Yeah, I hear it all the time, and they don't know because they say. I mean, it's not all the time, but those of us that were seeing UFOs before the age of the drones everywhere, man-made
Yeah.
drones, but those of us that were seeing UFOs back a long time ago, even if it's just for a minute or so or 30 seconds, you may see it and you're looking at it. One other person might see it, everybody else is going, where? Or they can't seem to perceive it. But in the amount of those 10, 20 seconds that you're looking at it, the amount of information that can be transferred on the superconscious and subconscious level is unreal.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we can't get stuff till we like get into hypnosis and get the totality of ourselves and access those parts of our superconscious and subconscious. You know that's part of what contact is really is right now going on. I was always a firm believer, Rob, before I ever came forward, that about
Mm,
right around upwards of 70% of our population has had contact, and
really?
most are unaware of it because it happens in the dream state. And you see, like that UFO you saw, what kind of dreams did you have the night after that, or 2 nights after that? Were you dreaming about real weird creatures or weird places? You know what I'm saying? People don't
Yeah.
recognize that as contact, but it is. It just happens on a higher level. That's what's going on right now. And I get a little worried because we're so inundated with SSP stuff, negative encounters, which do happen, and my heart goes out to those people. My experience wasn't like that. My experiences weren't like that, but that does happen. But we're allowing that to inundate the field and the media so much that it can actually alter some types of contact that we can have when it starts, because we've gone through this brain entrainment, and we are creators of a type. As immortal souls, the creative principle passes through us, so we are creators, and you can actually have enough free will to turn that into something else that it may not be. It may be higher beings trying to talk to you, and obviously you tripped out. Turned them into grays with the anal probes and everything else. This is very.
Hey, is it hand in hand if you have time loss, you probably were abducted by
You
a
may have had
UFO or an alien?
experience. I had missing time on 4 experiences specifically that were life changing, but they weren't abductions. They were
Mhm.
contact experiences. You know what I mean? And but nonetheless, I mean, if you're missing time and you just seen a UFO, the odds are you've had something happen, definitely.
Yeah.
You know, but I think the amount of people that have seen UFOs and had contact and are unaware of it, just like what I said, they saw that the UFO, and then when they're a kid, maybe they saw it, and then they're having dreams, or they're thinking about aliens later and stuff, or just things you wouldn't put together because it may be a few days in between or more, but that doesn't mean they're not connected.
You know
Quantum entanglement shows us that all things are connected.
I had some missing time on a boat. I took a boat with 2 of my buddies. We went from, Michigan to Ohio. We went to Put in Bay. It's an island off the Detroit River, goes on to Lake Erie. And the night that we decided to depart for home, we were looking for the Detroit light. When you hit the Detroit light, you're supposed to travel southwest, and it'll take us to where we needed to be for home. We went we like dummies though. We left at night. It was a foggy night, and there was no light. The moon was shadowed by the overcast and the fog on the Lake Erie, which proceeded to the Detroit River. We come across the Detroit light, which is once you hit the Detroit light, Barry, you're about an hour away from our destination to get home. All of a sudden, our compass and now this is back in I was in my 30s, so we didn't have like the great smartphone. We used analog compasses or the actual compass from the boat, right? The original glass in the ball. The compass went haywire, and we kind of thought we were lost, but we're at the Detroit lights. So we're like, hey, it's no problem. We'll be home in an hour. We ran out of gas. Yeah. We get around this bend, and now it's all of a sudden breaking daylight. It's breaking daylight. We're in the Maumee River, which is a half hour from our house, okay, for where we needed to go. However, Barry, during this time period, within an hour to a half hour, we lost 5 hours. When we look back on our watches at this marina, we were on the river for 5 hours, yet it only took a half hour to get to our destination. Oh, I can see you're having little issues there. So again,
I'm here still. I'm here still. You hear me?
yeah, I
You hear
see
me?
you there. I don't know if you, yeah, I can hear. I don't know if you heard all that. I lost 5 hours.
Yeah, mostly
and,
just for a second I was gone.
And that's another topic for another day. But to lose 5 hours on the water,
yeah,
and we're an
see
hour away.
that's something that you need to be regressed for that time period right there.
Yeah,
that's how to explore that. I want to throw something in here real quick, okay? And I apologize, I've not been looking at the chat room like I should be because I get too excited and tripped out.
Oh yeah,
but I just caught a comment just came through here, and it's so heavy. Okay, here it is at 1:50. The girl land her gong 1111.
The girl on her gong. Okay.
She says, I saw people visiting me in the hospital when I was in a coma.
Wow.
That is a heavy statement, and I believe you 100% because I cannot tell you how many earthbounds now I've dealt with that have joined. Because I asked where they joined, and I use hypnosis. This is part of the technique I use to do this, and the amount of these earthbounds that have told me they have joined with people at the hospital. And a lot of times it could be many things. Well, they were bright. I was trying to help them because they were sick. They might not have made it. And so I was trying to give them some extra energy and things like that I hear. And then the ones that say, well, I joined, I've always been with them. I joined with them. They're in the incubator room. And that's not even fair. You have somebody like, per se, a Bruce Jenner sitting there and laying in the incubator room. You have a older female spirit who joins with him when he's in the incubator room. This individual grows up feeling like they've always been this female. That's not even fair. I'm not saying that's the only reason for that issue, but it's one that needs to be factored in. And it's not even fair because most of us don't know when you have a child or something, they're not putting an energy shield around their child in the incubator room. We're not even trained about that. Not most people. So that right there. And one other thing about that, well, I think what you said is so important. One of the more recent ones was not recent, it's been probably 6 months ago now. It was this was a spirit that had joined a client of mine that knew how to protect themselves, but they went to the hospital for a surgery, and they picked this earthbound up there, and the earthbound started telling me, there were others trying to join, but they weren't strong enough. Only I was strong enough. And then they start telling me, I'm trying to get home. And they're still tripped out on the surgery that they had probably about 60 years ago in that hospital that they passed. And their family was waiting for them in the waiting room. They're still trying to go home there. But their family, I could see the portal and see they're already here. I can see, but they can't until you get them to a certain level of love. Couldn't see their family standing there. But before I get them to cross, point being, sorry, I'm getting too excited. Before I get them to cross over, I ask, I say, hey, by the way, you said that there are many others in there trying to join with the client. How many others? They said, oh, it's somewhere between 31 and about 50.
Wow.
So that's what's going on in the hospitals, and that, yeah. So that, I mean, and that, it's a little, it's terrifying, I know. But when she says that, 100% believer, I thought that was a heavy comment. The fact to have them just look over and see that one. So thank you for making that comment. I think people need to know that. Protect yourself when you go into the hospital, please. Even if it's just to visit somebody.
You're right. And again, we're coming up on 2 hours, and that's yet another cool topic subject for, again, down the road, man. And James Fadkey, James is in the chat room, and I haven't fielded a lot of questions because typically I have another person with me, but they're going, it's Brandy or Krista, but they're off on the road to a conference in Texas.
That's Blondes and Booze, right?
Blondes and Booze, yes.
I met her in person. She's real nice.
So James, yes, they're I love them. I've known them for a year now. James says, I would like to try hypnosis regression to find out more about my experiences. Well, James, you got to get a hold of Barry, because Barry, if I do remember correctly, you do that. That's what you do. So you do a lot of things. We're coming to the end of the show. It's a fabulous show.
Email me at barrylittleton13@gmail.com, and I'll get with you, man. Definitely.
Okay, that's
sorry.
What is that one more time? Sorry. No, you're fine. What's that again?
Barry Littleton 1313@gmail.com.
So James, Barry Littleton 13@gmail.com. Pretty easy. Get a hold of Barry. He can certainly help you out. Tex hasn't gotten a hold of you yet. Tex is scared. Tex does not want to regress.
Well, it's not, sometimes people think that it might be like a party or something. Not always. A lot of times it's trauma we're holding. You know what I mean? That's all it is. It's natural. I don't blame them.
So, Barry, as you know, and everybody listening, if you didn't see if I see a lot of new people or people late showers, you gotta go back and watch replay. Barry did a great breakdown. We talked a great discussion about what happened to me in Barry's theories, because I did want to talk with Barry about what happened to me. I spoke to many people. I always wanted to get Barry's opinion and theory, and you helped me a great deal as well, Barry. Again, it's just another mystery. It's another rabbit hole that I don't think we'll ever quite figure out. But the more we talk about these things, the more knowledge we get, and it makes us feel a little bit better about what we do. And before we say goodbye to everybody, I did want to thank Noah for the super chat, and Andy South for your awesome super chat. Thanks for everybody for coming in. And Barry, for people that do want to reach out to you, you got it. Where else can we find you?
I do a lot of stuff on YouTube. My YouTube channel is Barry Littleton. No cool names or handles or nothing. And on Patreon, I'm under Barry Littleton. I also try to do a little interaction sometimes on Facebook, Barry Littleton, and on Instagram. Those are the places. But YouTube is a good one to go to that one and check out the playlist. There's about 320 videos there. They're all short, but just stuff that's, as we say, good food for thought, as I like to call it.
You love saying food for thought. I catch myself saying it all the time. I listen to you so much. You've been on so much. I do use your phrase now, Barry. So if you ever hear me say it, I'm not copying you. It's like integrated in my head.
It's all right. I stole it from my mom. It's all right.
Yeah. Well, I've heard it before, but you use it ad nauseum. This is why it's like a repetitive, right? I see a lot of newer people in here. Please subscribe to Bigfoot Michigan Rob on YouTube, the Blondes and the Booze Paranormal Podcast on YouTube, Texas Front Porch on YouTube, and of course Barry Littleton on YouTube. It's easy. Barry Littleton, boom, he's on YouTube. I recommend Barry's channel because I go to it for information. Barry, and he's cool. Your videos are cool. They're 10, 20 minutes. You get to the point. You give out what your feelings are, your theories are, and you put it together nicely. They're not boring at all. You can move through them very quickly. And I always respect what you have to say, Barry. You're one of my favorites. And I'm sure you'll be back next time, man.
Yeah, thank you. I also have BarryLittleton.com, but I don't do much there, but it's got the links on there and stuff. I need to do more updates to that website. Thank you, Rob. Thanks for having me. And thank you to the audience for not
Yep.
throwing carrots at me.
Oh yeah, we got the thanks to everybody in chat. Thanks, No, for putting up the links for Barry and everything else. And I always say this: my chat audience is the best, and so are my listeners and followers that don't participate in chat. You all are equally important to me. Thank you so much. And for Barry, it's BMR. Until next time, have an awesome rest of your day.